Welcome to Speak for Yourself. Marcellus Wiley, Emmanuel Alcho is out today, so I'm here with the co-host of The Herd, Joy Taylor. So let's get to our top story brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen, and we know what it is. Tears holding them back. Tom Brady's retiring, y'all. Yeah, there were reports over the weekend, but Brady made it official this morning, calling it a career after 22 seasons in the NFL. The GOAT is leaving the game with 7 Super Bowl titles, and he made his announcement with a long statement on Instagram. I'm getting choked up, saying in part, I have always believed the sport of football is an all-in proposition. If 100% competitive commitment isn't there, you won't succeed. And success is what I love so much about our game. Brady went on to say, this is difficult for me to write, but here it goes. I am not going to make that competitive commitment anymore. I've loved my NFL career, and now it is time to focus my time and energy on other things that require my attention. Got to bring in Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings, but Joy, what's your reaction to Tom Brady's retirement announcement?
Well, I'm not shocked. The initial shock kind of wore off on Saturday. I was on air when the Schefter report came out.
Damn you, Shefty.
And, so the initial wow wave has already passed through. And, we were kind of a little bit on ice to get the official announcement from him, which we've now gotten. So now we can all kind of settle into this reality that we're no longer going to be watching Tom Brady play NFL football. I'm a little sad, I'm not going to lie. I was listening to My Way, Frank Sinatra on the way home from the show on Saturday, reminiscing. I listened to it a little bit this morning, just, thinking of the memories and all of the emotions that we have attached to the Tom Brady era of the NFL, which is 22 years, is literally an era in different phases of the game. And so my initial reaction is to just take a moment to reflect, really, on not only what it is that Tom Brady represents to the NFL and represents to sports, represents to business, represents to our business, but also what is the NFL going to look like moving forward. And, I just feel actually a lot of gratitude. I feel grateful that I had the opportunity to not only watch suffer under and enjoy the greatest player in NFL history, and now it's over.
Yeah, look, beyond the obvious greatness that I think everyone's going to echo in chorus about Tom Brady on and off the field, let me just start with a story. Last night, put my son to bed as I do every single night. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's an hour long. Last night was closer to an hour long because my son asked me the question, is Tom Brady retiring? And I was like, where did you hear that from? He's like, well, everyone's telling him he should retire. I said, where'd you hear that from? He said, I watched the game this weekend and they were saying he's retiring. I don't think he's going to retire. I think he's unretiring. And I was like, oh, big word for you, young man. That school is paying off because I certainly pay for that school. So we're sitting there looking at my phone, and I selfishly pull out a picture and a video of myself on the field with Tom Brady. Because if Tom Brady's that great, I want my son to think that I at least touch greatness, right? So I'm on the field chasing Tom Brady out. As I say on cue, this is me and MJ last night. Now it's Joy and Greg. And you're going to see Marcellus Wiley there, flanked by Rodney Harrison, who is out of position, being an independent contractor. No wonder our defense never did anything. And this is Tom Brady's first NFL passing touchdowns. If you noticed on this play, 2 things stand out to me. One, amazing throw by Tom Brady. Should have known you're going to be the GOAT one day. That is a great throw against my defense. But the second thing was, did I see Marcellus Wiley getting double teamed and fan protection? Boy, Greg, they had to do a lot to get me off the field. I am the reason the GOAT got started. That's what I want to say selfishly right now. No, in all seriousness, man, you talk about Tom Brady climbing to the top of the mountain and clearly sitting on top. And sitting on top alone. That's what's amazing about Tom Brady. You can say what you want about him in terms of, wow, he went to a great situation in New England. He's with Bill Belichick. Whatever you want to say about Tom Brady, he literally put the work in that got him to that apex. And he sat alone. And now this is not a guy who the game has passed by. He's literally taking a lateral step and walking off into the sunset. Visualize that. That's how high up Tom Brady is in terms of respect and admiration I have for him as a former opponent. And now him playing so long and so well, all the way to the end, all 4 quarters of his entire career. Tremendous, utmost respect.
Yeah, I echo the same thing of both of you, but for me, it's a little different. It started a little sooner, a little earlier. As a Michigander myself, and Tom Brady starting his career, his collegiate career at the University of Michigan and winning a national championship, and just as a kid enjoying and embracing that and seeing that fire in him immediately transfer into his NFL career. You just learn to admire guys like that, guys who never said anything other than I can and showed it more than they said it. And so for me, as a competitor, I'm a little I wouldn't say hurt. I'm a little stung a little bit. It stings because you want to see that type of competitor continue to play. It reminds me of when I saw Michael Jordan retire, and it's like even my own teammate Brett Favre. It was like kind of I was in awe. I was numb because the game had become them. They had become so great and such a huge asset to the game. It was like, how is this going to continue on without them? And that's what Tom Brady brings when we talk about and we reflect on his competitive nature. But then as a dad, as a parent, as a husband, understanding what that feeling is like when you go home every offseason or every night, like you said, Marcellus, when you put your kids to bed or when you read those stories or when you're doing that homework, you enjoy that even more. And you want to embrace that moment even more and continuously without interruption. And I think that's where Tom Brady is. So that part of me is excited because I know what that feels like to be able to exhale and finally commit all of who you are, just like you did when you were playing in your career and you gave it to your best to all of your teammates, all of your coaches, all of the fans. Now you get to really be all of that to your family. And so for that, I'm excited for him. I'm definitely going to miss him. It's not going to hit me until we start to watch football again next year. And there is no sign of Tom Brady in any uniform and he's not strapped up and buckled up. And so it won't hit me until then, but great career, unbelievable human being. And I wish him the best.
Yeah. Just listening to you talk about brings me back to when my brother retired, and both of you guys have obviously gone through this transition as well, because none of us have really taken the time, I think, at least I'll speak for myself, speak for yourself.
Hey.
What life is going to look like for Tom Brady after the NFL, because I've never spent any time as a professional in this business speculating about when he's going to retire. So, we've talked about Aaron Rodgers possibly retiring, what's Drew Brees going to do. We already gave Sean Payton a television job that he claimed he wasn't even offered yet. So for some guys, we can see what their next chapter is going to be. But Tom Brady is such a businessman. He's such a professional at the highest level, but also in some weird essence of ways, he feels like one of the guys, maybe because so many of the people that have played with him and played against him have such an admiration and relationships with him that even though he's this otherworldly, unattainable level of success, he doesn't seem like out of touch. None of us are eating avocado ice cream every day. Like, we're not dedicating ourselves to anything that we do at that level.
Right.
But he somehow still feels relatable. So I just never imagined what he would do after football. And to your point, Greg, I don't think it's actually going to hit us until we see NFL football next season and Tom Brady is not there. And we're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers without Tom Brady there. And, obviously we've already moved on to what the Patriots look like without Tom Brady, but now without having to compare them to what Tom Brady is doing in the NFL. So this next chapter for him is so interesting to me. Like, what's he going to do? Is he going to kick it in Costa Rica for 6 months?
Why not?
Is he going to get into, some other type of businesses? And, whatever he's going to do, I'm sure he's going to be wildly successful at it. But being able to spend time with his family, which he obviously is very public about having, great relationships with his kids and his wife who have supported him. And as you guys know, the family support that you need to play in the NFL at all is very crucial. To do anything at a high level is very crucial. But to do it at the way that Tom Brady does it, that we saw in that Tom versus Time, where he's just in the room watching film all day and everything is about preparation, and with Alex Guerrero, and he's doing rehab and his training every single day, and his full dedication to be the greatest to ever do it, he now gets to put it to his family, which is exciting for him.
Yeah, let me bring this home for me as well and say something that's cliche but profound as well. It's cliche to say it's the end of an era, right? Oh, Tom Brady retires, end of an era. But let me personalize that, because I was drafted before Tom Brady, and Tom Brady played after me. And let me tell you about this superhero that's from the neighborhood, that's from the block, in Tom Brady. As you said, Joy, he's so relatable. At the same time, you also saw him climb from where you were and him go to the apex in terms of his resume and his career in the NFL. So I'm looking at Tom Brady, and it's one thing, Greg, as you noticed, and it's one thing, Joy, as you saw with your brother Jason, when we retire. Now, we know when we retire, we can feel the pains, we can feel the ups, the downs, the process, what we're going to miss, what we look forward to. We know what that feels like, and we make a decision for ourselves ultimately. But it's another thing when you witness someone who you played against. And to me, he's the last of the Mohicans, outside of Mercedes Lewis, the only other dude I know that I played against that's still out there playing. But Tom Brady is almost symbolizing to me when I moved and got drafted to the NFL. I moved off the block. I moved from Slauson and Edgemore. I moved from the neighborhood. And that was sad. Even though I was excited about what the next chapter looked like. Hey, I got a bigger house. I got to live in this nice house. I felt sad I left my old stomping grounds, right? But let me tell you what's sadder. When you go back to your old stomping grounds and nobody you knew, nobody that you used to grow up with is there anymore. And that's what it feels like right now. I'm looking at the NFL now like, who are these dudes that gentrified by NFL, right? All these new players, all these new money, all these new faces. And it's a complete turnover now because there's no one that you used to ride with. No one you used to play against that's still out there. Now, maybe Greg is in a different position than me, but drafted in 1997, there's no more Mohicans left. I think Tom was the last of them.
Yeah, I'm definitely in a different position than you. I wasn't drafted in 97. I was drafted almost 10 years after you in 06. So
Look the same.
let's let the world know that. But I think what's super cool, and Joy, you mentioned it, and I think it goes, it's something that people don't really understand the importance of, and that is relatability. When you can find a way to relate with someone, you draw them. And I think that's what Tom Brady did, not just to competitors, not just to teammates, but to dads, to entrepreneurs, to businessmen, to just normal human beings that are behind all odds or the 8 ball and just fight and claw and never give up and never quit and find a way to become relentless every single day. You draw from those people and you admire them no matter what. Think about the amount of success that Tom Brady has had. People don't really hate Tom Brady. They just hate the idea that he always beat whoever they were rooting for. But you appreciate how he did it. And so for me, when I look at his career and I see it coming to a close, yes, does it sting? Do you want to see guys like that continue to play forever? You do. But when you read how he messaged in his letter saying, I'm unwilling to give the level of commitment that is required to compete, it almost humbles me, because for 22 years, knowing the amount of dedication that it takes for a player like Tom Brady to commit. And I played for 10 years, and Marcellus, maybe your story is a little different. But for 9 of those years, I felt like, I gave it everything I had. But that last year in Miami, I'm going to be honest, I was kind of going through the motions. And so to watch him every single year have expectations, not of everybody else, but of himself, to be the best, to provide the same thing, if not better, to this team or to this group of guys that may look different every single year from year in and year out. and do it at the highest of levels, it's to be applauded. It's to be commended. I give him his flowers right now while he can hear and see them. Job well done, Tom.
Man, since we're on the couch right now, let me be 100 up here. Those last 2 years in Jacksonville were a paid vacation because they paid me to give them a spark, but I used to be the one that used to have that spark. But I was looking for them to give me that same spark to fill that void. And Tom Brady just skipped past that process in so many other ways outside of his just tremendous greatness. Let me say this in conclusion. I should have known that Tom Brady's retiring before anybody else. Maybe it's 2 months ago, and I get this care package at the home, and it says TB12 on it. Now, I ain't stupid. I know what TB12 is, but I am feeling a little strange. Like, Tom Brady sent me something? Like, look, Tom Brady and we text a lot. Actually, I text him a lot, and he doesn't respond. Actually, I ain't even got his number. But I know Tom Brady, right? So the point is, when this hit me, I'm like, what the hell is this? And it was just nothing. His book, workout regimen, and protein shakes, and kale falling everywhere, and just a mask and all this. And the universe whispers before it yells. And I should have taken that note right then, like, Tom Brady and his company, the machinery, the brand, TB12, is now reaching out to all those, whether they were friends or foes, in terms of warning us that this moment was going to come. I ain't going to lie, I'm sad. I was sad when I retired, but it seems like I'm more sad that Tom Brady's retiring, because truly, it's the end of a great era. We have a lot more on Tom Brady, and we'll tell you if he's the best football player ever. But first, now that he's walking away, we'll tell you what Brady's legacy will be. That's next. Don't speak for yourself.
Let's get back to our top story. Tom Brady is retiring after 22 seasons. Brady made his announcement this morning with a long Instagram post. He's leaving the game with 7 Super Bowl titles, which is more than any NFL franchise. So, Marcellus, what will Tom Brady's legacy be?
Tom Brady's legacy will be untouchable. That's right. He's untouchable, and everything he's accomplished, untouchable. I know somebody already ready to tweet. Never say never. Well, I'm saying never, damn it. Nobody else is going to ever play the game of football and win 7 Super Bowl championships like Tom Brady and do it the way that Tom Brady did it. Neither one will come to life, will come to fruition. Here's one reason. It's just too damn crowded at the top now if you talk about greatness. If you look at what's happening at the quarterback position and focus in on it, boy, those elite camps and those 7-on-7 passing camps done had gremlins. And they are everywhere, whether it's Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl right now, or Josh Allen sitting there breathing down Joe Burrow's neck, saying, hey, I'm next. And then you can see Lamar Jackson trying to get his, Justin Herbert trying to just get into the building. All of these guys are going to compete at a high level together. And Patrick Mahomes is sitting there like, I'm sitting on the throne looking at you guys trying to supplant me. I don't think anybody else at this position will ever be able to accomplish what Tom Brady's been able to accomplish. Now, that said, how did Tom Brady go about doing it? It wasn't with all the fanfare. A 6th-round draft choice. I had a lot of friends who were drafted in the later rounds, and they all say after about the 5th round, I'd rather be a free agent. Because if you get drafted in the 6th or 7th round, guess what? They're forcing you somewhere, and good luck to you. But if you're a free agent, I get to pick where I could go, and I have the best chances of succeeding if I get the pick. Money a little different, but the opportunities seem greater for those free agents. I'm not going to argue with them. But that's where Tom Brady started. 6th pick 199, 6th round, and all of a sudden, we just saw his immediate ascension to the ranks of being one of the greats. Now, how did it happen? It didn't happen his first year. He was married to that clipboard because I was out there playing against Drew Bledsoe. Let me remind y'all who Drew Bledsoe is. The first player in NFL history to get $100 million. If you're Tom Brady drafted to that situation, you and that clipboard think you're best friends. You don't think you're ever going to see the field, let alone in your first year as a starter, 2nd year in the league. Thank you, Mo Lewis. All of a sudden, you're on the field, and next thing you know, you're a Super Bowl champion. 2 ways you get confidence in this world. One way, we all understand. I did something, and look what happened. I feel confident because of what I just accomplished. But sometimes the outer world, sometimes the outer accomplishments, sometimes the universe just lands on you and says, you know what? Y'all did this, and you are special for doing it. And I think Tom Brady in that first year, he wasn't the league MVP, he wasn't the greatest quarterback, but because the world just opened up for Tom Brady and that team to win a championship, the GOAT was born. I hate to tell y'all, but his legacy, untouchable, and I'm saying never.
I like it. I like it. Not only is Tom Brady the GOAT, greatest of all time, he's the greatest teammate of all time. Oh. When I think of Tom Brady, we kind of alluded to this, Joy. You kind of started it off talking about his relatability, and it was all about relationships. That's what made Tom Brady such a great and tremendous leader. His ability to buy into what it was that he was presented. Think about when you go fishing. No one can fish from their couch. You have to go to where fish are and put yourself in that environment to pull out something to your environment. That was Tom Brady. He was able to acquire guys and get guys to jump on board because he was willing to meet them where they were. Ooh. He was willing to literally befriend them and become what they needed, not just as a player. We all knew how great of a player he was. He drew people because of how great of a player he was, but he became adored because of how great of a teammate he was. When we think about great players and how they give their pressers, I look at LeBron sometimes and it was annoying. And people say, why did Kyrie leave? Because we always heard, yeah, my guys, and yeah, I got to tell my guys. And Tom Brady has never spoke to, and this is no knock on LeBron, Tom Brady has never spoke about his guys as his guys because he always put himself in position as one of the guys. And that's what his legacy is. I'm just like you. I'm one of you guys. I'm not going to allow you to see me as the greatest to ever do it. I am one of those guys that are trying to achieve the same thing you're trying to achieve every single year. So for me, as an ultimate competitor, as an appreciator of the sport, Tom Brady was the greatest. He will go down as the greatest teammate of all time because in every situation we saw him in, with every level of personnel around him, he had this ability to allow them to be drawn in, to believe, and to play as though they were better than what they had been or what they were going to be. Anywhere else we saw them. Ask Antonio Brown that. Ask Wes Welker. Ask Randy Moss. You ask anybody that's been a teammate of Tom Brady, and they have not a negative thing to say about him. And that speaks to his ability to be relatable, as we mentioned earlier, Joy.
Yeah, and I mean, when you have 7 Super Bowls in the ultimate team sport, you probably got to be a great teammate, right? So I agree. I think of 3 things when I think of Brady's legacy. The first thing that I think of is leadership. And for a long time, we argued, was it Belichick? Was it Brady? Who's more responsible for that dynasty? Well, he kind of closed the book on that when he went to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, who won the Super Bowl in 2002, but for 17 seasons didn't win a playoff game and only saw the postseason twice. He comes in a pandemic, wins a Super Bowl. So his ability to bring a winning culture, to lead a team, to show up every day with the work ethic and the dedication that he had, as accomplished as he was, what he did in Tampa Bay, to me, closed the book on who was responsible, who was most responsible, not responsible. Obviously, there was a lot of pieces that have fallen in place to make a dynasty work for 20 years, but the most responsible was Tom Brady. Because if he's the leader, if you're showing up every day, and you guys know this, when the big dog at whatever company you work for or whatever team you play for shows up every day and is doing the most work, you got to do more work too. You can't show up with Tom Brady in your locker room as the quarterback and do it halfway. That's not going to work. Everyone's going to look at you side-eye, and you're probably not going to be there very long. So his leadership, to me, is unquestioned and is such a massive part of his legacy. His health, 22 seasons is remarkable. For him to be second in the MVP odds this year in his 22nd season will not be matched. I don't believe that we'll see that again. I think he is the ultimate outlier in that. Obviously, you talked about your TB12 basket, Marcellus. TB12, whatever he has done to his body, the dedication, the money, the hours that he's put into his body that we don't see. Because greatness isn't really what you see on Instagram. It's not necessarily what you see on the field. It's all the work that you put in behind the scenes where nobody's watching. It's the preparation. It's the hours of rehab. It's the hours of training. It's showing up an hour early so you can get a full stretch in and your full routine before you ever hit the field. That's the stuff that we don't see, that not only he did, he loved doing. And as he mentioned in his Instagram post, he wasn't willing to do that anymore. All of those things are required for greatness. So his health, to me, has to be a part of his legacy, just of how available he has been. And then the adaptability, to me, is something that we probably won't talk about very much. But when you play as long as Tom Brady played, when Kyle Pitts is 21 years old, the youngest player in the NFL, he doesn't know a world without Tom Brady as an NFL player. Like, that is remarkable. The world was so different when Tom Brady started in this league. The league was different. The rule changes that he's seen, the different teammates, the different locker rooms, 2 different organizations, different coaches, turnover every single year. For him to win at the level that he won with all the different constant changing of circumstances is really remarkable, because when we think about different teams, we do all these projections. Oh, how well is this team going to do next year? We often don't really examine all the little changes. Did they lose a coordinator? Did they lose this key piece on the defense? Teams are different every single year. So for Tom Brady, over 22 seasons, to have this level of winning, you have to be adaptable. The amount of pay cuts that he took to make sure that he could have the players around him that he knew he needed in order to have a winning year, in order to stay at the level of competition that he wanted to be at as the ultimate competitor. His legacy, I agree with you, Marcellus, it's untouched, but there's so many factors in what made him as great as he is. And I think over the next couple of weeks, we will just begin to peel back the layers of how this all happened.
Oh, let me give you guys some props on some of the astute, tremendous statements made. Greg, when you said he met his teammates where they were, man, that's great parenting 101. You learn that, like, just meet people where they are. And that's great therapy right there. Joy talking about how the culture is not about mantras and what's on the weight room walls and dedication, discipline, desire. It's what's rewarded. And if the top dog is out there rewarding you for hard work, Tom Brady is giving you props for hard work and demonstrating it through his own efforts. That's the culture. And that's what Joy was talking about. It's crazy. Tom Brady, literally, you talk about adaptability. Tom Brady's drafted when his teammates now were little babies. And now his teammates are playing little baby. And he like, dog, I don't know what the hell y'all talking about. Like, to go 20 years, 22 years exactly, in spectrum. Like, the world has changed 10 times while Tom Brady's still being the quarterback of a team. Insane. For me, man, I already know no one else is going to do this. So let's just talk about what did he do. It's like the understated made it. Like, Tom Brady representing the hood and all those undeserving people out there that say underdeserved, and all the people out there who don't have an opportunity. Like, Tom Brady came from nothing to me in terms of 6th round choice to GOAT status. Like, look at that. That's like insane how Tom Brady represents so much for those who may not see a better outcome. Think about it. His hard work crosses all barriers, young, old, color, whatever you want to say. Tom Brady putting in the work made everybody buy in, no matter who you were, correct? That's right. And then Tom Brady's like in a situation where he's just demonstrating to everybody, like, yo, if you just buy in, if you just do it this way, it can work out for you. To the tune of, listen to these fun facts. I love going to the bar, grabbing a double, and spitting out some fun facts. Tom Brady has more Super Bowl titles than any other NFL franchise. Good Lord. I told y'all it's untouchable. He went to the Super Bowl 45% of the time he was an active player. And he won 32% of the time. Y'all hear me out there, party people? Like, Tom Brady has done something we have not seen before. And trust me, I'm not going to see it again.
Yeah, you're so right, Marcellus. And I think the beauty of how he did it, right, is what stands out for me. And I talk about the relatability and the relationships. And Joy, you talk about his leadership skills and his adaptability. And all that boils down to being able to self-assess and self-reflect day in and day out. Can you imagine having all those accolades that you just mentioned, Marcellus, and then humbling yourself enough, dumbing down all of that every single day to meet someone who has never done that, to kind of downplay it and say, no, this is what it takes, to literally pour into every teammate that in Tampa Bay, a culture, a team, an organization that hadn't been to the playoffs in years, and bring a championship level culture and environment and provide that. That's investment. That is time spent. That is beyond the field. It goes so far beyond that. And so when I think about Tom Brady, everything that I think about him, what stands out most is his ability to connect, man. Like, every player in this league, Marcellus, you said it, you were drafted before him, he outlasted you, and I was drafted after him, he outlasted me. Like, but we all have something in common. He is one of those players, one of those unique talents that we all, man, I wish I had an opportunity to play with him. I listen to how receivers talk about their relationship with him, and it's like, man, I wish I had that. Like, that is because it meant something to him. Even where he was, his level of status, his power, his rank, greatest of all time, he never carried himself higher than the lowest man on that roster. And this one story stands out to me. I think it was this past year. A high school kid or something calls one of the Bucs defensive backs, dials the wrong number, and he gets him on the phone, and he goes through the locker room, and he hands the phone to other players in that locker room, Gronkowski and other guys. And who else does he hand the phone to? Tom Brady, talking to a grade school, high school, teenage kid. He is that type of an individual where he's not too high and mighty to just pick up the phone and say, what's up, man? That is what makes him so beautiful. I love him. And it's all about the TB12 persona and his ability to really, like you said, Joy, adapt and lead because of his ability to learn how to follow.
Yeah, and my favorite part of his story is what we keep mentioning, is the 6th round pick, because I'm a solution kind of person. I don't really like to complain about the same thing over and over. What's the solution? What are we going to do here? How are we going to fix this? And Brady was always a solution person. Yeah. He was never a victim of anything. 6th round pick, cool. I'm going to be the greatest player ever. And I love that that's part of his story. I love that he wasn't the number 1 overall pick. He didn't go to a situation that was grooved for him. He wasn't even considered the guy right away, because those type of things stick with you. And I really like to study the people that are at the top of whatever their professions are. Muhammad Ali, Beyonce, Michael Jordan, Kobe, so many greats. And what do they do? What do they all have in common? Tom Brady, LeBron, what do they all have in common? They have an obsession with greatness. And whatever it takes to become great, I'm willing to sacrifice of myself to become that. And all the things behind the scenes that they do. And because Tom Brady was a 6th round pick, he's such a shining example of what you pour into what you do will come back to you, because he did it. No one thought the Patriots didn't think he was going to be this. They took him in the 6th round.
Yeah.
So it's so much more than a chip on your shoulder. It's something that's ingrained in who you are when you have the ability to be as great as Tom Brady is. And that 6th round pick is such an important part of the story, because we all saw the combine picture. We all saw the 40-yard dash, and no one believed it. But if you believe it, you can actually do it. And there's so many cliches that apply to his career. But that to me, the beginning of it is what sticks out the most, is that he really did overcome something that most people would never believe would even be possible. You couldn't take this movie to Hollywood and they would buy it. And we sell some crazy stuff out here. But no one would believe that. And he accomplished it. So I think that for all the perspectives that we can have on it, the fact that he started that way, I think, is so important.
Man, you said that, and especially with streaming now, it's really going to be some crazy stuff out there, because the demand for content is at all-time high. You want perspective? You want some perspective, Joy? Let me give you some perspective. I was drafted 3 years before Tom Brady, played with Tom Brady, and he played 15 more years after I retired. I played 10 years, y'all, for all y'all giggling at me. I played 10. This dude lasted 15 more after me. Insane in the membrane. You know what's crazy? Because Joy brought it up. Tom Brady, when he was drafted to the New England Patriots, their owner, Bob Kraft, Columbia alum, said that Tom Brady told him, I'm the best pick that you've ever made and will be the best pick you ever will make. A 6th-rounder? Greg knows this dynamic. Joy, you know what I'm talking about. Imagine a 6th-rounder going up to the owner talking about, I'm going to be the best pick you ever made. The owner like, that was cute. If you make the team, let alone become the GOAT. But that's who Tom Brady is, because Tom Brady never lost sight of the light at the end of the tunnel. This is what I'm going to leave with. Damn it. Because it really hits home. That's why I say Tom Brady represents the hood, the underserved out there. And it crosses all barriers, because when you're struggling or you're suffering and you're going through whatever you're going through, sometimes you lose sight of the end of the tunnel where that light is, right? And there's 2 things that bring me back home growing up. 2 things of why you lose sight of that light at the end of the tunnel. 1, you may just have your eyes closed, like you're going through some dark times and you just don't have your eyes fully open and focused on the right things. But 2 is something that literally happened to me growing up. There was this tunnel underneath my boulevard, Slauson. You had to go from elementary school to cross Slauson. You had to go under the tunnel. And I used to notice this dynamic. When you're going down the stairs into the tunnel, the light's behind me. Then you're walking and you get to the middle of the tunnel and then you turn around. I can't see the light behind me, and I'm looking in front of me. I used to couldn't see the light in front of me because I was in the middle of that storm, in the middle of that tunnel. But then Tom Brady is just something different, bruh. Tom Brady just is an example of I will never lose sight of that light at the end of the tunnel. And his work ethic, and all those that he inspired around him is a testament to that same mindset. Damn, Tom Brady, you're going to have me up here crying, bro. I love you, bro. Coming up, the Chiefs are out of the playoffs. Now y'all bring me back to home. But we seen the last of Patrick Mahomes, or the best of him? Has he peaked? We'll answer that next on Speak for Yourself. Now I'm going to do this quest for a 3rd straight Super Bowl appearance fell short after losing to the Bengals. Mahomes finished with 2 interceptions, but Andy Reid came to his quarterback's defense for not getting back to the Super Bowl, saying, quote, we're fortunate to have him. There's nobody looking at Pat Mahomes cross-eyed from our side. All right, Greg, have we seen the best of Patrick Mahomes?
Absolutely not. And there's a few reasons why we have not even come close to seeing the best of Patrick Mahomes. One of them being is because when you lost the way that he lost in an AFC championship game or any championship game, he's experienced the loss in the Super Bowl. He's experienced the high of winning a Super Bowl. And I've never lost a Super Bowl, but I never had a second opportunity to lose a Super Bowl. So I can't speak to that. But I've lost 2 championship games, and it stings. It hurts. It makes you really cherish and relish every moment and an opportunity you have to get back to that moment. And when you look at the landscape that Patrick Mahomes has to now plow, he's not going to be able to let off the gas. He's going to have to match and exceed all of the great play of these young and up-and-coming gunslingers, the Josh Allens, the duels we've seen now between them in the postseason. Shoot, Deshaun Watson, before all of his saga, we thought that was going to be, man, is this the future? And now we see Joe Burrow's coming up. Justin Herbert hasn't even made the postseason, but he's in the same division. So there's too much greatness outside of Patrick Mahomes that will even allow for his level of play to come down any type of a notch. He's going to have to match and yet exceed all expectations of himself and of others because of the play in the parity that's starting to arise and present itself in the National Football League. So absolutely not. We've not seen anywhere close to the best of Patrick Mahomes.
Ugh, how quickly the tables have turned, huh? I refuse to participate in this teardown of Patrick Mahomes. First of all, how much better does Patrick Mahomes have to be? Is he going to be any better? He's a league MVP, a Super Bowl MVP, a Super Bowl champ. He's the NFL's all-time leader in passer rating. He's won 50 games faster than any quarterback in the Super Bowl era. He has a win percentage he's 50-13. That's the best for any quarterback who's started his career in the Super Bowl era with a minimum of 50 starts. Brady is second. He got the Chiefs their first Super Bowl in 50 years. He's pretty good. Pretty good quarterback. I don't know how much better he has to be. That said, I do agree with Greg that this particular loss will stick with him. And watching Patrick Mahomes, absorbing Patrick Mahomes' brands, how he carries himself, his leadership qualities, what he has done on the field with this Kansas City Chiefs team, I have to believe that he is going to be self-reflective, and the mistakes that he did make in this game, the costly mistakes that he made, the way that he played in the fourth quarter and overtime, I think he will work on what he did and try to get better. But I don't know how much better he needs to be. This whole idea that he's like hit this wall, like, cool, I'll take that wall. That's a pretty good wall to be at. It's a very capable wall. They're in 4 straight AFC championship games. We're talking about them like they didn't make the playoffs. All right, it was a bad ending. Maybe, just maybe, the Bengals, even with, their roster comparison to the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe they're a better team this year. That's also possible. We could throw that out there. That's available on the board, right? I'm not tearing down Patrick Mahomes. They're going to be competitive next year. He's still great, and he has enough self-awareness to work on the things that he needs to work on. But have we seen the best of Patrick Mahomes? If this is the best of Patrick Mahomes, I will take it.
Okay. All right. Yes, the tables have turned. Okay, let's do it. I'm not going to tear down Patrick Mahomes. Just going to tell the truth about Patrick Mahomes, and maybe he'll be torn. We'll see. No, we have not seen the best of Patrick Mahomes. But yes, we have seen the greatest version of Patrick Mahomes. There's a big difference. I'm going to tell you guys, and I'm going to tell you guys simply, the best of Patrick Mahomes we saw in his second year in the NFL. Best, right? And Patrick Mahomes, 50 touchdown passes. And how did that add up, y'all, at the end of that season? Just short, a loss in the AFC Championship game. So in terms of best, no, we haven't seen it. I think he'll spaz again and give you 50 again. Peyton Manning did it. He went for 50, and people was like, oh, that's the best Peyton we ever seen. No, he went for 55 a few years later. So then you can see another version of him at his best. But was Peyton Manning greater even when he was at his best? No, because it just won't add up. 2 ways to shine bright in this world. Shine brighter yourself, or have your background be darker. Here we go. Let's look at the Kansas City Chiefs and their cap situation. Let's look at the Kansas City Chiefs and when these contracts are up. Let's look at the surrounding pieces around Patrick Mahomes when, let's just say Travis Kelce's like, yo, it's time to get re-up. Tyreek Hill, it's time to re-up. Even without an agent, it's not hard to go out there and negotiate. Well, Patrick got $500 million. I deserve something close to it, no? And then that's what's going to happen to this team. You're going to slowly see it start to erode in terms of all of the greatness that right now is not fully being taken advantage of. I'm going to say it like this. Greg, Joy, y'all ain't keeping it 100 up here. Y'all said, the sting and the loss of the AFC Championship game where he threw 3 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions is going to really stick in his claw. And then next year, watch him. Y'all think this loss was worse than the Super Bowl loss of last year when he didn't even throw a touchdown at all? Not one single touchdown. And everyone said, Patrick Mahomes going to come back next year with a vengeance. And he kind of did. But like I said, good or bad, Patrick Mahomes, I'm never going to put a cap on that. No ceilings. Shout out to you, Lil Wayne, Weezy F, baby. But in terms of greatness, it won't add up. Greg talked about it. It's too damn crowded at the top. Look at what he has to navigate through. You said Deshaun Watson. I ain't even thrown his name into the Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, etc. I hate to say it. He is not at his best. We'll get another 50 out of him. But in terms of greatness, the Chiefs team, I don't see it again.
Yeah, I got to disagree. And the reason why are because a lot of the things that you're mentioning, you can talk about cap space and what they will have or what they won't have. But what I will say that they'll have, and I think we all are pretty much in agreement with that, they'll have Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, they'll always have a chance. So I had the luxury of playing with this guy. You guys may know him. His name is Aaron Rodgers. He plays for the Green Bay Packers. Don't know if he'll be back, but he played. And everything comes down to wins. Did you win? But does it take away from the greatness of the individual? No, it really doesn't, because back-to-back MVPs, he's done his part. Now, the team around him, could he overcome some of the things that they didn't have a few years back? Was he the reason why they didn't have success this year? Possibly. Who knows? That when I think about Patrick Mahomes, the growth that he had this year, him being able to find himself and say, you know what, I'm trying to do too much. I'm trying to go above and beyond of what is being asked of me, and it's not necessary. That was a growing moment. That's why I feel like, Joy, to your point, he's going to be able to look at this, assess it, swallow it as much as he would hate to swallow it and have to. He must, in order to continue to produce the seasons that we've seen out of the Kansas City Chiefs and the seasons that we've seen out of Patrick Mahomes. His expectations were set, like you said, Marcellus, in year 2. When he came out blazing and he threw the 50 touchdowns and MVP and all the things, but he didn't get it done. Now, the number one goal will always be to get it done. And he will always be the most important factor of how they get it done, regardless of those pieces that may or may not be there. He is going to improve. He is going to step up to the plate and the challenge of all of those who are going to oppose him, that being all the other quarterbacks that are ready and willing to take their team, surpassing him. He's not just going to lie down. That is going to force him to continue to keep with it and push past all the doubt, all the mishaps, and all the laps. I'm not through with Patrick Mahomes. Like you said, Joy, why are we having this discussion? If what he's done to date is all we're going to see for the rest of his career, he's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, and we will all be in agreement with that.
I'm saying, like, who are you taking over Patrick Mahomes right now in the league? We just need to simmer down a little bit. You're not supposed to win the championship every single year. Only Tom Brady does that. And if you really look at Tom Brady's career, he didn't do that. He won a lot, but he didn't win every single year. He didn't even make it to the Super Bowl every single year. It's okay. Things happen. You lose games. The other opponent is allowed to be good too. They're allowed to have a moment. It doesn't mean that your career is diminished. It doesn't mean that your skills are falling off. It doesn't mean that the team is falling apart. To your point, Greg, they went through a bad stretch this year and were able to right the ship and get to the AFC Championship game. So I'm cool with Patrick Mahomes. I think he's on the right track for greatness still. They still are a well-run organization. They still got Andy Reid. They still have some pieces. And guess what? As we all know, when those pieces want to get paid, they'll figure it out or they will have to replace them. And if Patrick Mahomes is as great as I believe he is, he will make it work. Patrick Mahomes is a great player.
Yes.
And we've seen the level of greatness that he's reached. I think he will reach it again. Again, I don't think you're supposed to win a Super Bowl every single year. You should be competing for a Super Bowl every single year, which is exactly what the Chiefs did.
Man, we are having this conversation in so many forms, so many variations. It's the Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith conversation. Who was better? I say Barry Sanders. Who was greater? You got to say Emmitt Smith. You just brought up a comp that actually helps my case, Greg, because you played with him and Aaron Rodgers. Who's better out of Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers? There are people who would say Aaron Rodgers, right? But who's greater? It ain't no conversation. All I'm saying is I agree with you guys. There will be a better version of Patrick Mahomes, but a greater version? It ain't going to add up the same. I asked Joy Taylor yesterday. So at the end of his career, how many rings will Patrick Mahomes have? She said 2. You imagine Patrick Mahomes playing 10, 15 more years and only gets 1 more ring out of this? To me, even if we see a better version of Patrick Mahomes, 55 touchdowns, only 2 rings? Oh, you start to fall.
Only
2?
How many do you have?
0.
I mean,
0. And I'm not in a great or best conversation. That's why I'm qualified to have it.
0 for 10.
That is a decorated career.
Yes, but hold on. Now y'all making comps that you don't want to go down and compare to. Dan Marino, One of my favorite quarterbacks. Second year. Oh, yeah, there go Joy Face. See that? You know why she knows? Because Dan Marino was promised all these other Super Bowl chances and opportunities and wins, and they didn't come to fruition. Aaron Rodgers, after his third season, wins one. All these promises, and it doesn't come to fruition. All I'm telling you is he will be great. He will be better than this, but it won't add up to greater versions of this Chiefs team right now. I always lead with this, and I'm going to now finish with this. There's two ways to get sacks. And it's so funny that two ways to get these 15 sacks. Joy, tell me if you're a general manager, who would you rather play? Who would you rather pay? Which player? The one that got 15 sacks going 0, 5, 10, or the one that got them 10, 5, 0? Y'all understand what I'm talking about? It's also a trajectory here. There's also, look, Patrick Mahomes, we love you. You were in the AFC Championship game your second year. Oh, wait a minute. Then Super Bowl, no touchdown, and now AFC Championship game and more competition. All I'm letting you guys know are there are comps out there that you guys don't fully respect, but then when it comes to Patrick Mahomes, all of a sudden, he gets all your glowing respect. Joy, Greg, anybody? Make it make sense. Coming up,
Spoken
Tom,
like a true Chargers fan.
You ain't never lied. I ain't never sniffed no Super Bowl. Tom Brady says he's retiring, but do we really believe him? I'll tell you if we're convinced he's definitely done or not. That's next. Don't speak for yourself. As my co-host.
Tom Brady announced.
No mercy.
And actually play. But we, in our retirement, are still thinking about it, still getting the tingle. You imagine Tom Brady going out there with those kids right now? And Greg, we're going to talk through your pain and your denial right now. Tom Brady going out there and zipping it around. He's going to think about scenarios, situations. How about this? Being a relief quarterback in the NFL mid-season, see some injuries, latter part of the season, a playoff team going out there, and all of a sudden, dang, quarterback goes down. I don't know. Did that happen a couple years ago? L.A. Rams and John Wolford Reserve had to go out there for Jared Goff. You think if Tom Brady sitting there retired looking at that Ram squad, looking at all that talent, and wouldn't say, I got me about 200 throws left in me for a nice playoff run. I don't know if the TB12 brand will allow him, but I certainly know the player in him is going to be enticed by that scenario. Eric Weddle 3 weeks ago, y'all, was out there kicking it in the streets of Diego. And all of a sudden, he gets the call, and now he's in the Super Bowl. I'm telling y'all, you can say you were retired just because you don't actually go back and play. But that ain't the mindset of Tom Brady. And that's not the mindset of most players. They still feel that itch, even if they don't cross back over those white lines.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I can't agree with it 100% because I didn't feel that itch. My experience, I thought that I possibly would. And I jumped into this gig with Fox, and we had the Super Bowl down in Houston. And I'm on the field. And I remember walking up to Julio and Tom, both of them during that Super Bowl before they all took the field to play against one another. And I never felt the urge, or I never put myself back in that uniform. So there are some, me being one of them, that can walk away and be completely comfortable with the decision made. However, I will say this about Tom Brady. He's an all-in or nothing type of a guy. I don't think that by any stretch of the imagination he would ever come back, like you're talking or alluding to in mid-season or whatever, saying, this team, oh, man, they got a good roster, let me jump in. No, that's not Tom Brady. He put it in his own writing. I don't have the same competitive urge and desire to compete at that level. I don't want to give that level of commitment. Once you start to make up that in your mind, you're mentally checking out. And if there is one thing Joy, as an athlete, when you mentally start to check out, physically, in the position that he plays, you can't mentally not be in it at any level, or you're not going to be able to perform to the level of expectation at 44 plus years old. There's no room for error. So for me, I'm completely convinced he's done. It's over, because he went out the way that he wanted to.
Yeah, he also said in his own words that he doesn't but anything. He doesn't go halfway on anything. That's what he said. He gives it his all every single year. So coming in halfway through a season or retiring and then coming back, that's doing it halfway. It would feel very inauthentic, and that's not what Tom Brady is. Tom Brady is a very intentional person. He's a very intentional player. Everything he does has intention to it. And if you're a person of intention, then you know what I'm talking about. You're not just walking around making decisions as they come. I guess I'll do that. Sure, why not? That's not how he is. So he did this for a reason. He came to this decision for a reason. I also think it would be very weird to say, like, I'm going to spend time with my family and this is all about my family, which is a big part of who he is. And then, halfway through a season, he's like, yeah, I've had enough time with the family. I think I'm going to come back and play again. And to your point, Greg, he is not retiring early. He is retiring after 22 seasons. So it's not like he's going to walk away and it's like Gronk, where he takes a year off. He's like, no, I still got a little left in the tank. Like, the tank is empty, and that's fine. Not saying that he's, finishing on a bad note. Obviously, as we mentioned when we set this up, he is second in MVP. He had an unbelievable year. It's not like he's dragging his way to the end. But that's all the more reason why it wouldn't serve him to come back. There's nothing else left to accomplish. And what you risk by retiring and coming back, by checking out mentally and physically, and then trying to come back, is you do tarnish that legacy. You do change how we view you, because now it would feel a little desperate. What else is there to prove? We get it. You love football. This is who you are. You are Mr. Football. So it would feel weird from a fan perspective. Certainly the media would be extra critical of him. I think it would feel, obviously I'm not a part of his family, but he seems to want to spend a lot of time with his family. So that would be kind of weird. And most of all, it just would feel inauthentic for him to say that he's retiring, put out the statement he did, and then, a couple months from now or a year from now say he wants to come back. I think he's truly done. I think he's ready to transition to the next part of life. And that can be an exciting thing, too. You guys both retired. Greg, you got into this business. You start new chapters. You get into new things. And you get excited about the potential that you have there. There's nothing that's going to replace actual football.
Now we're talking.
There's nothing that's going to replace walking in and being the man in the arena, right? There's nothing that's going to replace the Coliseum. But all of that also comes with a price, which Tom Brady knows more than any player maybe in history, because of the dedication level that he gave to the game. So I don't see him coming back. It would feel very strange.
Oh, strange to you, huh? I wonder how it feel to Brady. Look, Joy, you could have stopped a long time ago when you were like, I'm not a part of his family, because I am. I'm the only one up here that sacked Tom Brady. I'm the only one up here that played against Tom Brady like that.
Did write a very nice letter to recommend my brother for the Hall of Fame.
That's true.
I feel like
your brother was better than me, so he gonna get that letter. I give you that. But did your brother get that retirement care package that I just got a month ago? So I am family with TB12. Damn right, Joy. And Joy, you made a mistake here, because you joined what all those fans were saying when Tom Brady was leaving New England. Oh, you need to retire. Oh, Tom Brady, you don't have anything to prove. You don't have anything to accomplish, nothing more to accomplish. Tom Brady, stop right now. Clean break, 20 years, New England is beautiful, stop. And Tom Brady looked at them people like, y'all think it feels weird, huh? It don't feel that bad to me. Let me go down to Tampa and take the worst franchise in win percentage in sports history, not the Clippers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and in 1 year, wow, Super Bowl championship. Man, he got more to accomplish. The next is what he has more to accomplish. Greg, I started off my take and you were sitting there like, nope. I finished my take and you know what you said? Well, I kind of agree with a lot of what you said, because Greg, your last year of playing was in Miami, you talked about. And like my last year in Jacksonville, it didn't go so well for various reasons, right? Tom Brady's last year, he might win the MVP, party people. He had 43 touchdowns. He's not leaving from the depths of the bottom and carrying helmets and Gatorade for the other players that are actually contributing, like Greg and I. This is TB12, still at the peak powers of TB12. Y'all be careful. Watch around playoff time. He might get that itch like Jordan did. Coming up, Odell Beckham Jr. is headed to the Super Bowl with the Rams. We'll tell you if our opinion of OBJ changed this season. That's next. Don't speak for yourself. Come on, Greg. Odell Beckham Jr. has made quite the impact in Los Angeles, helping the Rams get to the Super Bowl. Former Browns receiver is now one win away from a ring, and he is not taking it for granted, saying earlier this week, quote, everything about this place is right, and it's done right, and it's just been an incredible opportunity. Welcome to La La, Big Dog. I've been telling people that for years. So, Joy, has your opinion of OBJ changed this season?
No, because my opinion of Odell never changed. I always thought he was extremely talented, and he plays a dependent position. So he was in a not great situation at the end of the time in New York. And I think we can all agree now, Baker Mayfield is at best a slightly above average quarterback when he is healthy. So it was never a good fit in Cleveland. I didn't like the move to begin with. I didn't think he fit in Cleveland. It felt very forced. As things started to progress and we saw that there were issues, I think the front office stuck with it to just kind of try and prove that this was the right thing. It was not a good situation in Cleveland. Cleveland still has a long way to go culturally. We saw that this year as everything fell apart. So my opinion of Odell has never changed. He's had some injury issues, and I think that's just going to carry with him. That's just part of your, resume when you are injured a lot, but that's not necessarily under his control. I think Odell, the scout on him that he was a bad teammate was always kind of silly. He matured. That's what we do as we get older. We didn't always all make great decisions. I'm still trying to, make better decisions.
Hello.
You learn. You adjust, you get into a better culture, you see how a good culture is a good coach, a good quarterback, high level of expectations in a city with high level expectations, what that can do to players. And that's what the Rams provided, and some stability. So I didn't think that Odell was the issue in Cleveland. I didn't think that Odell was a bad teammate. I didn't think that Odell was a diva. I think that he's a very talented player who thrives better in structure. Don't we all?
I'm with you, Joy. My opinion of Odell has never changed. He's always been what we're seeing him do right now. For me, it's about winning and losing. When you're losing, you're just different. You're a different individual. If you're constantly losing, even with the Giants, he lost. Like, he was having a tremendous amount of individual success, but ultimately, when he lashed out, it wasn't because he was being selfish. It was because the passion of the competitor inside of him wants to win. He's in a position and in a situation and in a culture where winning is at the forefront, and it's at all costs. Whatever you have to sacrifice, you better be willing. That is the culture. That is the standard there. And he bought into that. He went into that situation understanding, just get me out of the one that I'm currently in. Because I can't win here. I can't thrive. My soul, my spirit is off. Like, everything about Odell was just not right and in a good place. He's in a good place. We're seeing the same route running. We're seeing the same type of Odell. The only difference is his spirits are high. He's lively, and he's willing to do whatever it takes because he is experiencing what winning actually feels like when it matters. He's in the Super Bowl. Let that man breathe and live.
I have to echo what you guys said, but I'm going to add a wrinkle to this. Look, when you're a receiver, you're dependent. It's like you're a little child out there because you need to be fed by your quarterback parent. And if you got a bad parent, you got a bad quarterback, it's going to be tough on you. Ask Greg Jennings. He knows about that, but he never really had one because he had Aaron Rodgers.
I did.
Miami? Don't call him out. Don't call him out right now. But here's the thing. Okay. This is why people were questioning Odell. My opinion never changed, but I respected those who did. They were saying, look, if you go to Cleveland and can't make that work, how did you make it work in New York? Remember, Eli Manning, 2014, before he got Odell Beckham Jr., had 18 touchdowns and 27 interceptions, y'all. That was 2013. Next year, you get Odell, 30 touchdowns and only 14 interceptions. So the conversation became, is Baker that sorry? Because you certainly rose and made Eli Manning resurrect himself. Or Odell, are you kind of sorry now? And that was a conversation that we had to respect. Because if you have that type of impact on Eli Manning, how come you didn't have that type of impact on Baker Mayfield? Well, now that he's departed Baker Mayfield, we all can come to an agreement in unison. Odell ain't sorry. Baker You are. Coming up, Tom Brady is known as the GOAT of all quarterbacks. Yeah, I'm still a former player. I'm sorry, I talk like that. But we'll tell you if he's the best football player ever. Next on Speak for Yourself. Tom Baker, get healthy and prove it wrong.
Tom Brady announced his retirement this morning. He's leaving the game with 7 Super Bowl titles and is the all-time leader in touchdown passes and passing yards. Brady is known as the GOAT, but we want to know, is that really the case? We've got to bring in Fox NFL analyst Bucky Brooks. What's up, Bucky? Is Tom Brady the best football player ever?
He's the greatest quarterback ever. I won't call him the greatest football player ever. I think when we talk about Tom Brady, we measure him in ratings because of wins. But I've heard from the analytics community that quarterback wins are not a stat. So what I will call him is the best quarterback because he's done a lot of great things as a quarterback. But in terms of player, Jerry Rice, to me, is the greatest player to ever play the game. When you look at the number of records that he owns, you look at 200 touchdowns from a guy that plays on the perimeter. You look at all the things that he's done. And the separation between him and his peers, Jerry Rice, to me, is the greatest quarterback. Tom Brady is the greatest winner. I think we have to separate them because there's a difference between being a quarterback and what I call a true football player.
Oh, Bucky, I want some of that. Look, Tom Brady is the greatest football player in NFL history. He is the GOAT. But this conversation is not about the GOAT. It's about the BOAT, the best of all time. And, Tom Brady, you fall short in the BOAT conversation. On top of Jerry Rice, you could throw in there, let me throw a couple other names in the stew, in the gumbo. Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders, and Bruce Smith. Now, I'm not going to go too far down the lane of explaining their greatness because it speaks for itself. But when we're talking about best, when we're talking about the best football player ever, 2 things have to happen. One, you can't hide behind your accolades and achievements and team awards. Nah, we're talking about y'all in the same situation with the same cleats on. Who's the best to do it? And if you don't understand what I mean by that, I give you this example. Emmitt Smith is the greatest of all time in terms of achievements, accolades, and talent at the running back position. But the best of all time, I just said his name, Barry Sanders. You don't believe me? Just imagine, let's play this little game and tell me who goes against this. When you think of Barry Sanders playing for the Dallas Cowboys. And if you think about that, if you see what Barry Sanders did, and just imagine that situation. So that's all I'm saying. Greatest of all time, door shut, conversation closed, it's Tom Brady. But I see a B down there. BOAT? Oh, no, there's other guys out there raising their hands for that.
I mean, it's Tuesday afternoon. What are y'all drinking? It is way too early for this.
I am shining up here.
You sound crazy.
Really?
Of course he's the best football player ever. He plays the most important position. He just went to what? Marcellus, what is Tampa Bay?
The worst franchise in sports history in terms of win percentage. Yeah, it was.
And won a Super Bowl in a pandemic.
Yeah.
In his first year with the team. He plays the most important position. I'm not going to bore everyone with all of his accolades that don't seem to matter. But the most important accolade is what? Championships. That's what you play for. He has 7. He has more than any NFL franchise, not a person, franchise, playing the most important position. We're not going to do this on Tom Brady Day.
No, we're going to do this. Snap.
We're not going to do this on Tom Brady Day. Tom Brady is the greatest football player of all time.
We didn't say greatest.
He's not the fastest. It doesn't matter that he's not the strongest.
Is he the best?
He is the best. He is the greatest. He is the best. The case is closed. No one's ever going to touch Tom Brady's legacy. There are many greats that have played this game, okay? But when you have accomplished with what Tom Brady has accomplished, not just with one organization, with one great all-time coach, many would say is the greatest coach in NFL history, but to go to the losingest organization in all of sports and do it there, playing the most important position, yes, you're the greatest.
Get her,
so
Bucky.
are y'all two going to sit here? I know you're not going to sit here.
Bucky face naked now. He mad. Get her, Bucky.
Important position, right?
The glasses.
Is that what we're going to do?
Yes, we're going to do it. Get her, fuck. Get her, fuck.
Is that what we're going to do today?
Get her, fuck.
All we talk about is quarterbacks and how important they are. You are not going to sit here and tell me that Tom Brady is not the greatest player of all time.
Yes, we are. Get her, fuck.
You know what? I'm going to apologize because I took my glasses off because when I was a kid and I go to First Cosmopolitan Baptist Church, Reverend Lewis would do that before he dropped a gem of the sermon. And I right there am so mind blown by the argument that Joy made.
Shame the devil then.
I had to take my glasses off so I could collect my thoughts on this. So here's what I will say. I think I don't want to steal any shine from Tom Brady on his day. It's a retirement day. But here's what I would say. We could contend that 4 of the 7 Super Bowls that he won were in spite of Tom Brady, not necessarily because of Tom Brady. When we think about 3 of the first 4, it was the Patriots defense being able to get it done. And then when we think about that last Super Bowl that we saw, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs, it was also the defense. If we're going to talk about the best football player ever, it has to pass this test, the eyeball. I have to and believe that the guy that was on the field was the best player on the field. And when we're talking about the best player ever, that means that we're going to say that Tom Brady's singular dominance and greatness exceeds Jim Brown, Jerry Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White. I mean, all of these great players that have played throughout the league. I love Tom Brady, what he's accomplished. There is no way if we're playing a pickup game that I pick him over those other guys.
He won 2 Super Bowls.
They won. Not he.
40s,
They won.
2 Super Bowls in his.
Won.
Well, then if we're talking about they, then what? Then what? We can't have Barry Sanders in this conversation.
I got some he's.
When we talking about they, you had to have one Super Bowls, right?
I got guys that don't even win Super Bowls, and you're not gonna sneeze
at that. We're just
it.
out here playing for fun. The Super Bowls. It's participation trophy.
Tell me if a guy.
Everybody get orange slices. Go about your day. Thanks for coming out and get some exercise, guys.
I think you're losing how you could be the best at something and it doesn't add up for all of us. Therefore, we don't have a Super Bowl championship. But when I'm a defensive end and I lead
the most important position.
Yeah, he plays it, but he didn't play it the best. That's the whole conversation. There have been times where he got outplayed. What Bucky said was the best way to explain it. You have to be the best on the field and be the best of the best and have to do that for a decade plus. I'm talking about Bruce Smith. I'm talking about a guy who led the NFL in history in sacks and tackles at the position. I'm talking about Barry Sanders, who you looked at and you're like, there's no one better than him, or Deion Sanders at the position. I love me some Tom Brady, and I hate to do this on the funeral or retirement day, but damn, he wasn't the best. He was the greatest.
Take out his first 4 Super Bowls. He wasn't the best quarterback at the most important position for a 10-year span.
I mean, he was 3-time first-team All-Pro. I'm talking about some other guys out here. They at 9. Deion at 9. Like, come on, Joy. This is a whole different conversation.
Nobody's diminishing the greatness of these players. But when you're talking about the scope of the NFL and the history of the NFL and the scope of what Tom Brady accomplished for 22 years.
Bucky, I got it.
The winning has to matter. We're not just out here getting some exercise together. This isn't CrossFit. Okay, this isn't hot yoga. We're here to win championships. If you play the most important position and you bring that to another team that is statistically the worst franchise in all of sports, and then you win.
He didn't do it by himself. He didn't do it by himself, and he's great.
Which one of these plays by himself?
He's the great.
Which one of them are golfers? They're all football players on the team game.
When we're having the best conversation, this is about yourself conversation. It's so funny in contract negotiations. You can walk into there and say, well, our team did this and did that, and they be like, look, let me tell you and your agent, I'm paying you. What did you do? And in the isolated conversation, as great as Tom Brady is, there are some that did it better than Tom Brady, just maybe at other positions. Coming up, Joe Burrow. Ooh, you mad at me, Joy? Wow. Joe Burrow's headed to the Super Bowl in only his 2nd season. I'll tell you if he can be the face of the league. Next, don't speak for yourself.
Tom should have sent me a basket.
You ain't lying. The Bengals went from the bottom of the NFL to the Super Bowl in just a couple years thanks to Joe Burrow. Started from the bottom, and now he can make history as the first quarterback to win the national title, Heisman Trophy, and Super Bowl. Damn. Burrow has the 2nd best odds to win Super Bowl MVP according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. So, Joy, can Joe Burrow be the face of the league?
Yeah, he absolutely can be the face of the league. He's got everything that you would want in a franchise quarterback, everything that you would want to represent the league. But I also don't think that the NFL needs to have a face of the league. I think there's so much talent. There's so many big brands. There's so much at the top that is run well in the NFL that the league's not going to be in any kind of trouble losing Tom Brady in that space. Obviously, we're going to miss seeing Tom Brady out there, and he's the greatest player to ever play the game. But Joe Burrow could be the face at one point. Mahomes can be the face. Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen. There's so much talent. Aaron Rodgers, Micah Parsons. There's so much amazing talent in the NFL right now. The brands are so strong with all of these young guys. There's been different phases even of this year where we had Kyler Murray through a stretch was the runaway MVP. We couldn't stop talking about Micah Parsons for 3 weeks. Now we've got Joe Burrow. Josh Allen was in the mix. Throughout the season, we get these great stories. So I don't think that we necessarily need a quote-unquote face of the league. We talk about this a lot with the NBA, and there's, a little bit of anxiety. What's going to happen when LeBron leaves? The NBA is a star-driven league. The NFL is still very much about the big brands and the shield, and they've done an amazing job as of recent to elevate the young stars that they have. They have amazing stories. They're great at the podium. They're great with the fans. So while Joe Burrow has been wildly impressive, and I'm day one biggest fan of Joe Burrow, he can definitely be the face, but I don't think the NFL is the type of league that has to have one player speaking for everyone or one player defining the league. I think the league is in a great place with its young stars.
I cannot believe I just heard Joy Taylor say that guys can share the mantle as the face of the league. One segment after I heard her talk about orange slices and participation trophies.
It's a
now
different
we're going to
world
have
now.
playtime minimum when we're the face of the league. No, Joe Burrow can be the face of the league. He is the face of the league. He's our modern day Joe Namath because he is everything that we celebrate as a quarterback position. He's the ultimate winner. He's a competitor. He has swag. He also got that young boy cool stuff because when you see him light the cigar and do the chopper dance with his boys in the locker room, he has all of that stuff that you look for. And for me, the thing that won me over, that little trunk chain, that little jewelry with the JB9, with the cubic zirconias and whatever he has in the bezel. I'm all about that. And fellas, my dude, Joe Burrow is the face of the league. He got it right now.
Nah, B. I hate to do it to you, but Joe Burrow can't be the face of the league. And it's because of Joe Burrow's actions and Joe Burrow's doings that he won't be the face of the league. Okay. Let's not try to make the face of the league this shared experience. Joy, how many names you gonna name for the face of the league? That's not how it goes. It was Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Okay, we let them share because Peyton is a better quarterback, but Tom Brady is a great. No, you gave me Micah Parsons. Girl, woo! Let's stop playing. So look, when you're the face of the league, it's not an experience that you're gonna be able to just identify so many. Right now, in transition, it will be Patrick Mahomes if it's not already, right? It goes Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Peyton, you gone, Tom Brady, you gone, Patrick Mahomes, okay? Joe Burrow sitting there like, yo, it's my turn. And y'all know who I am. I'm Joe Burrow, maybe the guy who won a national title, Heisman, and a Super Bowl, doing all that. Master P glasses on, little tuck chain. I ain't tripping, hold my stogie the wrong way. It don't matter, I'm hood rich. Okay, I give you all that. It sounds amazing. And then you start to look like, okay, and if he wins a Super Bowl, face of the league. That doesn't work. Ben Roethlisberger won a Super Bowl or two in there between Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. He wasn't a face of the league. Okay, so it's not just Super Bowl wins. Don't give me all that Joe Namath talk. You got to have some signature and you got to have some brand moments as well. Here's where he loses it. Be real. Joe Burrow has sold us on his Ohio connections. I'm a guy from Ohio, and now I'm back in Cincinnati, Ohio, and that's the brand. Here you go. Except I've been noticing some beef on Twitter that the people of Ohio are claiming him from Ohio State, and then he abandoned them to go to Louisiana and saying, I don't know why they claiming me. Wait a minute. There seems some holes in this branding. There seems some holes in the game. All I'm telling you is when you start to add it all up to become the face of the NFL, oh, man, this thing got to be impeccable. This thing can't have obvious holes like, are you Mr. Ohio or not? So, I don't know. Joe Burrow's going to run into some issues trying to sell that brand.
Look, that dude, I cannot believe you talking about Joe Burrow just because Ohio claims him and he's bigger. He's worldwide. He's like Marcellus Wiley. I don't see you just claiming Compton. You claim all of it.
I ain't never leave Compton like that. I didn't abandon. I didn't run from Compton
in San Diego.
I couldn't make it.
In parties when Marcellus was DJing. I've seen Marcellus do it bigger than just what we did in South Central. No. You don't get away with that. Joe Burrow's too big for Ohio. He left it behind. He's just letting know.
That's my point.
I'm bigger than that.
That's my point.
I'm bigger than that.
Oh, and that's my point.
Ohio State didn't want him. What they mad at him for?
Oh, you so great. Why you couldn't make it here still in Ohio? I'm just telling you what I'm hearing from those who are disagreeing with your take that he could be the face of the league. All I know is if you couldn't cut it in Ohio, don't come back when you make it and then act like you are Ohio's own when you departed us when things got hot. Coming up, the GOAT has officially called it a career. You mad at me. But were we surprised? We'll answer that next on Speak for Yourself.
Ohio is a whole state, right?
Yeah. Hey.
Tom Brady is retiring from the NFL after 22 seasons with a stacked resume, 7 Super Bowl titles, 3 MVP awards, and at 44 years old, he led the league this season with passing touchdowns and yards, and is an MVP frontrunner, not enough to be the greatest in the NFL history, according to Marcellus. Marcellus, are you surprised that Brady retired?
I still don't believe it, and I'm not in shock. I'm just more in hold my breath. Let's wait and see how this is going to play out. And there's a little bit of a difference because it certainly kicked in. Tom Brady's retired. Yeah, Adam Schefter went out there first. Tom Brady's like, damn, dog, can you wait? Okay, so Tom Brady does it. All right, it kicked in, but it may kick out too because Tom Brady is sitting there making this decision. Imagine a lifetime of doing one thing. And then when you leave it, you think it's just a clean break? You just think, oh, that's all behind me. My lowly self was still thinking, man, this knee don't hurt that bad, does it? Yeah, it does. And that's coming from a place where I wasn't in the MVP conversation in my last year of playing football. That's coming from a place where, I'm not losing my offensive coordinator, like he may lose a Byron Leftwich, obviously, and a team that's going to come back looking differently. Maybe Tom Brady wants to retire like Too Short used to retire. You remember Too Short used to say, this is my last album, y'all. This is my 10th album. He owned 28 numbered albums that Too Short didn't produce. But the point is, you want to reassess things. Maybe change your contract situation. Maybe change your location, whatever it may be. Maybe this is just more of a reassessment than just a retirement.
No. I think what he did was the ultimate boss move. So often guys stay around until they can't play anymore. We were like, oh, you remember when? You remember when he was one of the best players in the league? You remember when he was the greatest? You remember when he was all these things? What Tom Brady did was the ultimate mic drop. Because the last time that we saw Tom Brady, Tom had brought the Buckets back, and everyone believed that Tom Brady got the ball back at the end of the game or in overtime, they would win it. And so the memories that we have of Tom Brady are not of the memories of Muhammad Ali with the mustache or Mike Tyson getting beat to a pulp. It is of Tom Brady playing at his best. What better way to go out than on top? He has 7 rings more than anybody else. There's nothing else for him to do. To walk away with us wanting more is the ultimate way to put the cherry on the top of the sundae.
Oh, yeah, I agree. You always got to leave him wanting more. That's the best way to leave it. Just leave him wondering, what if a little bit more? That's the best way to do it. I mean, those are the best endings, right? The best movings, the best shows. There's just a little bit of mystery. There's just a little bit that we can discuss. You know, what happens next? What would have happened if? That's the best way to leave things. And he is still at the top of the game. So we could say, what if he went to this team that needs a quarterback? Or what if he played for a few more years? What if he played till 50? You know, what if we did see him, deteriorate? What does that even look like? What does a diminished Tom Brady look like? We'll never know. And that is a great thing. And when you're at the top of your profession for as long as he's been and have the accomplishments that he's had, you don't have to scrape to the end. He's not worried about making a couple extra bucks. He's not worried about proving anything. Yes, it's difficult to walk away from something like football, like sports and that type of competition, because there's no way to duplicate that feeling. There's no way to duplicate the competition. There's no way to duplicate the locker room. There's no way to duplicate that routine, unless, of course, you transition right into coaching, but it's still a different kind of situation. So I do think this is the end for Tom Brady. As I said earlier, he's an intentional person. He's not just doing things just to do them. He knows what the implications of saying that he is retiring are. And again, when you're 44. It's not like he's leaving the game early. And he's like, I think he got a couple more years in him, but he's a little banged up. Like, he's not leaving the game early. 22 seasons. He's given everything he has to the sport. We've been blessed to have him. I feel blessed to have been able to watch the greatest football player of all time play for the last 22 seasons. And I do think he is legitimately retiring.
Oh, man, trouble me and partake in this academic exercise with me, because you guys keep saying mic drop, and I don't know what kind of father you are, Bucky, what type of parent you are, but let's replace mic or phone and mic drop with toothpaste. And if you got some toothpaste right there, right, and there's so much toothpaste left in that tube, right, and then your kid just walk up to you and just drop it, wouldn't you tell them pick that damn thing back up and keep using it because there's still too much toothpaste left in that tube? Why you gonna do a mic drop and we still got too much left in greatness in Tom Brady? He had 43 touchdowns, y'all. Squeeze a little more toothpaste out. The dude may win the MVP. Squeeze a little more toothpaste out. Y'all just like, that's good. Make them leave and want more. I want Snowfall to never end. Season 5, season 50, season 500. Don't make me sit here. Want more. Coming up, Tom Brady had a great career, but was it more impressive than Michael Jordan? Damn, already? We'll answer that next. Don't speak for yourself. Woo.
Love Snowfall.
Tom Brady is known as the GOAT in the NFL with 7 Super Bowl titles, and most people call Michael Jordan the GOAT of the NBA with 6 championships. So, Joy, who had the more impressive career, Brady or Jordan?
It's Tom Brady Day, and I stand by what I said earlier, that Tom Brady is the greatest player in NFL history, not just the greatest quarterback.
I don't know about this.
But I'm a Michael Jordan zealot. I can't help it.
There it is. I'm about to say.
I can't help it.
Say it.
I'm a zealot. I have no objectivity when it comes to Michael Jordan. I'll keep it real. So I'm going to say Michael Jordan, because I can't risk that he's hearing this right now and that he thinks that I don't think he's the greatest, because I do.
Oh, I appreciate Joy keeping it real. I didn't know. I was beginning to wonder if she was going to go Tom Brady.
Facts.
Michael Jordan is the one. Michael Jordan is the ultimate player, not only because of the win, 6 titles, but the way that he dominated. It was clear and apparent that he was the best player in the league for his entirety of the league. Let's go with Michael Jordan in that conversation.
Yeah, it's not Tom Brady. And you know how much respect I have for Tom Brady. But damn, Michael Jordan, stop playing. Here's a simple way to answer this. Who would you rather be? Max Kellerman, my dog, always talks about that. You get caught up in watching a boxing match. Who won that round? Who that round? Oh, he got it with the left. Oh, he hit it with the... Hey, dog, who would you rather be in that round? And the one you choose is the one that got out better in that situation.
You choose the fighters? I choose Michael Jordan.
You choose Michael Jordan anything, right? Yeah, I mean, look, to be compared to either one of the GOATs, amazing.
Yeah.
That's it for us, y'all.
Happy Tommy Day.
Happy Tommy Day. That's real. We'll see y'all tomorrow. We're going to get after this.